In this session of distributed file implementation, we will discuss about replication and update protocols. File usage, system structure, caching and cache consistency have been already discussed in part 1 and part 2. Now the question to be asked here is why replication is required. So the major reasons why replication is required is first is to increase the reliability by having independent backups of each file. If one server goes down or is even lost permanently, then in such a case no data is lost. For many applications, this property is extremely desirable. The second reason is to allow file access to occur even if one file server is down. So the motto here is that the show must go on. A server crash should not bring the entire system down until the server can be rebooted. And finally, the third requirement is to split the workload over multiple servers. As the system grows in size, having all the files on one server can become a performance bottleneck. So by having files replicated on 2 or more servers, the least heavily loaded one can be used. So for these reasons, replication is required. Now we will discuss different methods of replication. The first method of replication is called as the explicit file replication. This method is for the programmer to control the entire process. Now when a process makes a file, it does so on a specific server. And then it can make additional copies on other servers. So it will make a copy on server 2, server 3 and so on. Now if the directory server permits multiple copies of a file, the network address of all copies can then be associated with the file name, as it can be seen in this table over here. So this is the symbolic name and this is the binary address of each file that is replicated on the server. So when a name is looked, that means when you are searching for the symbolic name, all the copies also will be found based upon the binary addresses. So when the file is subsequently opened, the copies can be tried sequentially in some order until an available one is found. The next method is called as the lazy replication or lazy file replication. Here only one copy of each file is created on some server. So we'll assume that a copy is created on server S2. Later the server itself makes replicas on other servers. So in this case it is making a replica on S1 and S3 later automatically. Now this happens without the programmer's knowledge. The system must be smart enough to be able to retrieve any of these copies if required. When making copies in the background in this way, it is important to pay attention to the possibility that the file might change before the copies can be made. So this was about lazy file replication. And the final method is the group communication. So file using group communication. Now in this scheme, all write system calls are simultaneously transmitted to all the servers. So it is sent to server 1, server 2 and server 3. So extra copies are made at the same time the original is made. Now there are two principal differences between the lazy replication and using the group replication. Now with lazy replication, one server is addressed rather than a group. The second difference is the lazy replication happens in the background when the server has some free time, whereas with respect to the group replication, all copies are made at the same time. So these were different methods wherein replication could be done. Now let's see how replicated files can be modified. So by just sending an update message to each copy in sequence is not good idea, because if the process doing the update crashes in the pathway in the middle, then some copies will be changed and some others will not be changed. So we'll discuss an algorithm which is called as the primary copy replication algorithm. Now when this algorithm is used, one server is designated as the primary. So one of the server acts as the primary one, and all the other servers act as the secondaries. Now when a replicated file is to be updated, the change is sent to the primary server, which makes the change locally and then sends command to the secondary servers, ordering them to change too. Now read operations can be done from any copy. It may be a primary or the secondary one. Now safeguard from primary crash. To guard against the situation that the primary crashes before it has a chance to instruct all the secondaries. Now in this case, the update should be written to a stable storage prior to changing the primary copy. So before writing the update to the primary copy, you make an update somewhere to a stable storage. Now what happens is that in this way, when a server reboots after a crash, a check can be made to see if any updates were there in progress at the time of the crash. If so, they can still be carried out. Sooner or later, all the secondaries will be also updated. Now the disadvantage of this particular algorithm is that if the primary is down, that means if the primary server is not working, then no updates can be performed. Now the solution to this problem is we use something called as voting. Now what is this voting process? Now the basic idea is to require clients to request and acquire permission from multiple servers. Okay. Not one server but multiple servers before either performing a read operation or writing a replicated file. So we take permission from a group of servers before performing a read or write operation on replicated files by using something called as voting. We'll try and understand this. Now a simple example of how the algorithm works. Suppose we have a particular file. I name the file as file1, okay, which is replicated across n servers. Now in this case, I have taken 8 servers. So we can make a rule stating that to update a file, now this is the same file across n servers which is replicated. So what we do is, a client must contact at least half the servers plus 1. So if we consider half of the servers over here, then it will be 4 servers. But our requirement is half plus 1. That means we require to consider more than 50% of the servers. So in this case, I consider this 50% of the servers plus 1. That is, in total I am considering server 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now once they have agreed, once all these particular servers have agreed, the file is changed and a new version number is associated with the new file. So now the version number was 8 across all these files. Now since an updation has been done or a write operation has been performed, it will be updated to a new version number. So now in this case, I assume that the version number will be 9. So now in this group there are 3 servers which are left with the older version. So now basically the version number is used to identify the version of the file and is the same for all the newly updated files, since this file is a replicated file. Now if to read a replicated file, a client must also contact at least half the servers. Okay, so now if we consider half of the servers over here, it will be 4. So if we consider 5, 6, 7 and 8, so just the way we did for write, we will be considering it for read also. So half plus 1 servers will be considered over here also. So now in this case I am considering server 1, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So to read a replicated file, a client must also contact at least half the servers plus 1 and ask them to send the version number associated with this file. So now in this case the two different version numbers will be sent to the client. So it will be version number 9 and version number 8. Now if all the version numbers are the same, then there is no problem. That means all the files are updated. But here in this particular example we get files with two different version numbers, version number 9 and version number 8. So in this case you can make out that version number 9 is the recent file and version number 8 is the old file. So the remaining files can be updated. So basically either to perform a write or to perform a read, more than 50% of the servers must agree to update a particular task. Now we require to know certain terms, like we'll be using something called as quorum. So now what is this quorum? So if we have a cluster of 5 nodes, we need to know what is the quorum. So if it is a cluster of 5 nodes, so basically the quorum would be 3. So this particular number is called as quorum. So how do we get 3 is, so 5 divided by 2 plus 1, we get 3. Now what is the need of this quorum? Now the need of this quorum indicates how many failures can be tolerated, which is the size of the cluster minus the quorum. So if we have a cluster of 5 nodes, then how many failures can be tolerated? So in this case 2 failures can be tolerated. So a cluster of 5 nodes can tolerate 2 of them failing. So in general, if we want to replace or if we want to tolerate f failures, we need a cluster size of 2f plus 1. So at the max, if we can tolerate only 2 failures, then 2 plus 2 plus 1, 2 into 2 plus 1 gives us 5. So the cluster size is of Now we'll consider a method which is called as the Gifford scheme. Now to read a file of which n replicas exist, that means n replicated files are there, a client needs to assemble a read quorum. Now basically what is this quorum is? It is an arbitrary collection of any NR servers. So basically NR is used for reading. Similarly, to modify a file, a write quorum is required. The way we have read quorums, the same way we have write quorums. So at least NW servers are required. So this is with respect to your write quorums. Now the requirement over here in Gifford scheme is that the values of NR and NW are subject to a constraint that NR plus NW will be always greater than N. So only after an appropriate number of servers has been agreed to participate can a file be read or written. Now we'll have a look at an example over here. We have servers from A to L. So total number of 30 servers across which the files have been replicated. Now in this example we'll consider NR to be 3 and NW to be 10. So this is your write quorum and this is your read quorum. Imagine that the most recent write quorum consisted of this 10 servers. That means the update was done on this particular 10 servers from C to L, that is C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K and L. So all of this would get the new version and the new version and the new version number. Now any subsequent read quorum of 3 servers will have to contain at least one server from the write quorum. So now when it wants to perform a read, when the client looks at the version number of A, B and C, it will know which is the most recent one and take that particular recent one file. A similar example over here. Now the read quorum is 7 and the write quorum over here is 6. So over here the write is done across all these servers, and when a read is to be performed, it will take at least one server from the write quorum. So based upon the version number, it will get to know which is the latest updated file.